Hey everyone, this is Jessica from MonkeyGoose Magazine. So today I was lucky enough to sit down with Tyler Skelton and Justin Smith from the band Aircraft to talk about their new album, 7 Gems from the Sparkling Void. Check it out. So we're going to go ahead and start today by asking about, what's the musical background you guys have had? Any influences on your music?
So my musical background is more classical, and then the older I got into more jazz, and my first instrument was the trumpet. I went to school for trumpet. I went to school for classical and jazz, and so that was kind of my musical background. I also listened to other music. I listened to a lot of everything, not really one type of music.
He's the ears of the band. He's got the best musical ears, I would say, probably because you've played piano since you were 5. So I didn't start playing until I was like 14. I just realized what it was that I was first introduced to. And I remember going into my parents' car, and my mom had these tapes. And it must have been the first time I realized that this was like a thing I could pick up, and it was like songs, music from a group that I could play in her tape player. And I remember just being completely like fascinated by that. And I was like, whoa. And I started going through every single one of them, like listening to like those tapes. And not to like knock my mom, looking back, they were pretty awful. Like, I don't know if I really want to like go into specifics, but there's a lot of 80s heavy hair metal bands in there. But I remember like just really like being like, oh my God, there was a Quiet Riot tape. I'll say that. And I was like, this is cool. This is awesome. And then when I was able to like start getting my own CDs, my own tapes at the time, I really got into like heavy music. Like I was really into Slayer. I was really into Pantera. Was the first CD I ever bought. My mom had no idea what I was listening to. I just started with that sort of like love for music, just real heavy. So that's where my musical like journey started, I think.
All right, yeah. Do you think that any of these artists had any effect on the style of music that you play now?
Oh yeah, I think so. I mean, how could they not? I mean, I think every kind of impression that you're exposed to has some sort of influence on you in some way. So not that I think I play, like I don't write heavy music, because since that time, my musical taste has changed, and I've like, gone through a wide range of different like styles, genres that I was interested by. So I think that is just a portion of influence on me.
All right, yeah. So then how did the band meet?
Justin and I have been hanging out for a long time, since probably 3rd grade. We grew up together, started playing music together in a garage, my parents' garage. We then moved out to Buffalo, and we started meeting people in the music scene, and started playing with different people in the music scene, and eventually formed Aircraft.
Yeah, that sums it up pretty tightly. How did the band form? Buffalo has a bunch of musicians, and most musicians in Buffalo at one time or another end up playing with each other. Very incestuous type of scene, but it's good. And that's where most musicians meet their bandmates. It's just through like, someone knows you play guitar and their band loses a guitar player, and they're like, oh, I know this kid that plays guitar, let's invite him to a rehearsal, and all of a sudden you're playing guitar in this band, And then years later you start your own band, and then you're like, oh, I need a bass player. I remember playing with that guy, and you ask him. So that's kind of how the scene works here. And that's a little bit too of how our band started, like the drummer, Ian, that was in Aircraft, was in a previous band with us, and then he started playing in other groups, and he knew a bass player, and we met him. It's just kind of like a weird, interlocking maze of pieces. And just eventually we all came together.
All right, cool. So when you guys got together and you knew this was it, this was our band, these are my people. When you really got together and sat down and thought about it, were you into, you know, make it big and to really kind of branch your music out, or were you more just, this is my garage band, these are my friends, I'm having fun doing my thing, you know?
So I didn't have any ambitions to be like even a band that toured or anything. I just wanted to like play with other musicians that could help me like bring these songs to fruition that I was like writing. So for me, it just started off as like, let's help me write these songs and let's just play them because I need to get them out, you know, like they were like inside. But afterwards, after getting into a group with other people and getting organized and realizing we're spending a lot of time writing these songs, that we should probably make it worth our while, maybe to like do a little bit more with it because we were proud of it. I think our sights started going towards like, well, let's try to like tour. Let's try to like write an album, you know?
So why don't you, you know, now I guess as a band, lead us through a little bit of your songwriting process?
Okay, so it'll start with me coming into the rehearsal space with an idea, a song already started. I'll have the chords, melody, sometimes lyrics written. I'll definitely have like a general feel. There'll be a feel for the song. And then once the other dudes start listening and adding their parts, the song definitely changes. And I think what we do as a band is we like just take something small and make it a lot bigger and a lot more beautiful.
Person had mentioned a little something that you guys were into experimentation a little bit. So if you want to elaborate on that and let us know how that resonates through your music.
Okay. Yeah, we'll talk about it now. Okay. It's experimentation. So using like experimental drugs, like let's say LSD, for example. I've done my fair share. I've liked it. I like doing it, you know, and like whatever. I think a lot of people like have experimented with certain drugs and whatnot. But what I realized at it, like when I was like first starting to do these like drugs, is it had a profound effect on the way you think about the world. Drastically changed your outlook, and for me, I looked at music. Like it had a huge effect on the way that I saw and understood what music was. You know, I think it really like blew my mind, so to speak, and that really interested me. So I think I've always enjoyed like coupling like experimenting with the mind in general, with whether it be like using drugs or not drugs, doesn't matter, and also combining that with making music at the same time. Love to do. You know, and it definitely has had a huge influence on like the style of music and what I want to write, you know, the type of music I want to write.
When I personally like sat down and listened to 7 Gems, I loved it. But I sat down and listened to it, and I really got this great fun vibe. You know, the first couple songs made me want to get in my car, roll down the windows, and drive to the beach. It was just great. And then more towards the second half of the disc, more towards Camera Song and Sink or Swim, I kind of got this really like angsty vibe. Like it really brought me back to my high school days of just angsty teenage pent up rage and all that. So where was that like a purposeful transition, or was that just kind of something I got out of it?
I personally didn't intend for those type of feelings, but our bass player James, I feel, brings a lot of angst in his playing, which I think really meshes well with what we do, you know, as a band. Each person has their own kind of like unique like disposition. So I think a lot of that may have came from his like energy, what he's done, you know, just like boom, laying it down. But that's cool that you felt that way. You got to let out a little bit.
I mean, that's great for every band to have that difference, light and shade, as Jimmy Page would say. So, yeah. So then kind of going back to that question a little bit, just because, you know, it brought me really back to like my high school days and made me think about all that. Is there a specific, you know, group or audience that you're trying to connect with?
No, definitely not.
I don't think so.
No, but you know, I do understand like the style of music that we're writing right now, and how it comes across is sort of like received by like a group of people. Mm-hmm. But I hope that it can be appreciated by anyone of any age, you know.
And even though you're trying to kind of send a message out to the general population, whoever you want to have listen to your music, what is that message? Do you think there is a message within this album?
And I think the message that I do want to project through the music is it transcends the idea that it's something you couldn't really even like put into words. I think it's more of an emotional idea.
50,000 people are going to have 50,000 different interpretations of a single song. Have you ever dreamed of playing for 50,000 people? Like, what for you going from playing a small gig to playing a bigger gig like the Night Lights Fall Festival? What is that like for you?
Well, I think playing the bigger gigs are definitely fun. A little more stress, but I enjoy playing in bigger gigs, but I also enjoy playing in smaller gigs. The more intimate setting is also, there's something to be said about that. But getting into the bigger gigs, we're able to do a lot more with the stage and visually making the music go along with the visual aspect of the stage and everything. Yeah, I mean the bigger gigs are definitely fun. It'd be great to play to 50,000 people, but
well, if there was 50,000 people that wanted to hear us play, right, that's one thing. But yeah, if they were there, it'd be like, yeah, let's listen to them. That's awesome. But this is a weird thing. This is a misconception. This is like here's something I want to bring up that I think is an idea maybe some people haven't thought about. So like let's say we get invited to play like, I don't know, some crazy festival where there's 50,000 people, but no one knows about our band. That's a different situation than like having a show where 50,000 people are coming to see your band, you know? That's just two different things. And I personally feel that's what has the biggest influence on me as far as playing in front of like a group of people. Like if I play a small show and I know those people are there because they want to see us, like that's super satisfying. But if I'm playing a big show, like say, you know, you get an opportunity to like open for a mega band and you know those people aren't there to see you, but you're just there. For me, it sort of changes the context of the performance. You know, because it's almost like you're trying to win them over maybe, or you're like, you're like, I don't know, it's a different type of thing. So there is that aspect to the whole thing. So I don't think like the size of the show is multifaceted.
When you're going to play bigger gigs as opposed to like just opening up at a bar somewhere, what does your performance change at all? How does it affect that?
Okay, I think it does change slightly, but I think, well, for me, like I'm not gonna like do anything differently than I would do anyway. So you know, I'm gonna do what I do on a small stage. I'm gonna do what I do on a big stage, and they're probably gonna be the same thing. You know, I don't think my personal performance is going to be more exaggerated because of a bigger crowd or less exaggerated because of a smaller crowd. I think I put the same amount into every show. I'd like to think so. But sometimes there's like energy from a big crowd, but there's also energy from a small crowd. So whatever. But I do think the opportunity to play on a bigger stage and have like more like time and like knowing you're playing in front of more people, that what that does is it creates this opportunity to actually make the stage more of an installation, you know, really like look at it as a piece of artwork, and the band itself being part of that piece of artwork, you know, presenting something like multimedia. I feel like more inspired and to do something more like grandiose on a bigger stage.
So obviously you guys, to promote this new album, you're about getting ready to go on tour and you guys are going to have so much fun. So kind of, starting to wrap this up a little bit, why don't you guys tell us a crazy band story that has happened before?
All right. Well, we were on tour with this other band, our friends, the Malones at the time. 3 of them, there's 4 of us. There's 1 van, 1 U-Haul trailer. It's the middle of summer. The van doesn't have AC. The van doesn't even have enough seats for all of us. The van is a 1983 StarCraft van that may or may not get us to every gig. We don't know. It's hot. Our shirts are off. It's just a sweaty meat fest in this van. Anyhow, that's sort of the backdrop to this. So we're cruising. We're like halfway through this tour. We're in West Virginia. The day after a gig, we're leaving West Virginia, going towards New York City. Tyler's driving the van. I'm in the passenger seat. All the other dudes are in the back just doing whatever. Sleeping shirtless. And then all of a sudden, there's like some lights flashing behind us. Cop car pulls us over. We get pulled over. We're in West Virginia. We're a bunch of dudes in an old vintage van. We're definitely a band. They know that. That's why they pull us over. On top of it, there are drugs in the van. And I don't want to get into details, but there was enough that made me very nervous. So the cop comes up to the window, does the usual, banter first, but then like gets right to he's like, any drugs in the van? No, officer, of course not. He's like, all right, but if you guys are lying to me, you're all going right to jail. I'm going to ask you one more time. And we're like, no, you're crazy. Of course not. He's like, all right. At this point, he's already calling for backup. Then he gets all of us. He's actually kind of cool, too. He's like, I forgot to mention this. He's like, if there's drugs, you know what? I'm sure it'll be cool. We'll just probably give you a fine. You'll be out of here. No big deal. Just don't lie to me. I'm like, okay. But I'm like, I'm going to lie to you because I don't trust you. So at this point, he starts asking each one of us to get out of the van, and he proceeds to pat us all down very, very thoroughly. He gets very handsy with us. So as this is happening, 3 more cop cars pull up, maybe 4 more. And before I know it, there's 15 cops.
Yeah, they were having
on
fun.
The highway.
That was fun.
And we're just like, oh my God. Oh my God.
I was sitting in the cop car the entire time because the first cop pulled me out of the car, sat me in his car, and was going through his whole spiel with me. And then the other cops came up and they're all nice and happy and joking around with me. So I'm thinking, oh, everything's fine. Nothing's gonna, they're just gonna tell us to be more careful and get back in the van and get out of West Virginia. But
so anyway, we're all standing. He asked us, all of us boys, to stand 20 feet from the van. And at this time, there's 15 cops just raiding the van, just going through it, ripping it apart. I'm like, they're gonna find everything. This 20 minutes later, the cop he beckons us to come back over, and he pulls out this super small little baggie full of a little bit of shake from a weed, just a tiny bit of he's like, who is this? And it was our drummer, Ian, who was in the military. So we tried to use that as a thing. That's a whole other part of the story that I don't have time to get into. But he's like, I fucking told you. Oh, sorry. He's like, I told you if you lied to me, you're going right to jail. Grabbed him, handcuffed him, threw right in the cop, right in the car. Basically swore at us, got all crazy psycho. All of our stuff was all over the highway. Just told us, he's like, get out of here. And we're like, what about our drummer? We got a gig tonight. He's like, better cancel it. You're not gonna be seeing him for a while. And we're like, oh my God, this is crazy. What's going on? So we're like, we all get in the van. We're like, let's just get out of here because they didn't actually find what we did. They didn't get. Yeah. So I'm like, we'll figure out how to get Ian later. God bless him. Let Jesus take the wheel. And we're about to pull away, right? And this is where it gets even crazier. We're about to pull away, and all of a sudden, because we're on a highway, this motorcycle trying to avoid like
The cop
cars, all the lights, our van, tries to like go around, gets clipped by a car, and we're like already like super hyped up. We're in the driver's seat, and we just see this motorcycyclist flip and just like
his bike went
crazy
tumbling end over
right
end.
in front of us,
Yeah.
and we're like, "What the? Oh my god!" And it was really, really intense. Yeah, that was the story.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot more to the story, but
Yeah, the motorcyclist ended up being okay.
That's
Well,
good.
somewhat okay. He didn't die or anything, but he was pretty shooken up from it.
yeah.
I think we all were pretty shooken up from it. But the only reason that the motorcycle got hit was because there was 15 cop cars. Like, they were just having a heyday on our van, and they caused an accident.
Yeah.
And then, once it happened, then, we were yelling at the cops to go do it, and they took their time to go over and take care of the guy. And it was like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
It was definitely a memory.
It was a memory.
Yeah. We got a good
what I
picture.
expected, but it wasn't that.
But Ian ended up getting out of jail that night, and we ended up playing the show anyway. So it
all worked out.
Yeah, it all worked out.
Awesome. All right. Yeah. So, one more quick question. So, the next few months, what do you guys think that looks like for you in terms of touring, in terms of maybe the possibility of trying to work on a new album, although that may be premature, but.
Oh no, that's the goal.
Yeah.
Got a lot of tunes on the back burner.
Yeah.
So to say.
We got new music to record. Most of September, we're going to be on the road, but we'll be recording while doing everything at once.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a busy couple months coming up. So.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for doing this with us today. I loved the album. I loved doing this interview with you. You guys are great.
Yeah, this was fun.
You have I believe a show tonight, or is it just an album release party?
It's a show. It's our release party.
All right. Awesome. Yeah. Well, congratulations on the album, and good luck with your show tonight.
Thank you.
Awesome. Have a good one.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.